sweet angels. Welcome back to another video. I wanted to do kind of like a little routines video, but maybe less even about the set routines, but kind of like the mentality or mindset behind the routine, almost the routines around the routines. We're gonna get a little meta with it. That's what we're hitting on, routines about routine. I'm gonna show you some of the things, and then I think I'll go more in depth later in the video about more of just like the backstory mental processes that I feel like I was kind of hurdling over, that I feel now as if I have a much better understanding on, that hopefully will be helpful for you as well. Okay, I want to start this out with a few different ideas of meditation, but we'll start with the basics, which is I'll show you Open, which this portion of today's video is sponsored by Open. I love working with them. They are a breathwork and meditation app. They have so many very helpful tools to get into meditation. I like that they have so many guided options.
When your confidence is rooted in the deep, unshakable knowledge that you are enough, no matter what, something powerful happens. You become magnetic.
As I feel like I've been getting out in the world a little bit more and like opening back up, I was drawn to their Becoming Magnetic program, which I've already done before, but I just love this one. I think it's great. They have so many programs on their app though, so definitely check it out and explore a little bit. I like how my progress with meditation has changed so much. Like it's something I really look forward to now, which is cool because it can be just like a little bit challenging to get into and like sit with the stillness, but I feel like it has helped me cultivate just awareness in life and with my thoughts and in general. I think it's amazing. Yeah, if you want to get started with Open, you can check out their app and get 30 days free with my link below. So definitely check out that opportunity. And I bring this into my life, or try to. More of like a Zen mindset, one could say. I've had trouble in the past with menial tasks that bore me. And then while I do the task, I think about how I'm gonna have to do the task again tomorrow. And that just makes the task very much not enjoyable. And instead, lately, I've been doing my dishes and I'm like, I'm thinking about the water on my hands, or I'm thinking about nothing at all. Or I'm looking at how the water is very beautiful hitting this glass and flying out of it. That's quite nice. That maybe I wouldn't notice if all I was thinking about was how I hate doing dishes and how I'm gonna have to do them tomorrow. I'm gonna go on a walk. You have to cultivate your eyes to see. This is a process. I set this intention before my walks to pay attention. So I'm actually paying attention to what's around me. And this is a really good creative practice to start just like noticing things and really paying attention and not thinking about coming up with ideas, where oftentimes I'm like, you can get so much inspiration from little things that you're just walking around and seeing. And I'm finding that very nice. And even just appreciating LA more, where I'm like looking at the houses. I love all of the beautiful houses in LA. I love the landscape. I love the trees. I love the fruits, the nature. It's so nice. I stopped at this little stream to put my hand in. And then as I like looked up, and suddenly a cat came out of nowhere and was like kind of barreling towards me to say hello, which I thought was really nice because sometimes cats are not very friendly, but this one was so extremely friendly, and we sat and hung out for a while, and that really made my morning. It felt really nice. And had I not stopped to put my hand in that stream for like maybe 30 seconds prior, I probably wouldn't have ran into the cat, and then I would have missed the cat. Yes, I'm just refolding my t-shirts so then they'll look nicer, and then when they look nicer, they'll be easier for me to find what I want to wear, and then I'll be happier. That's so simple. And as you look through the clothes, you can even, each clothing, be like, wow, this is a nice t-shirt. I love this t-shirt. And then I'll fold it, and then I'll do the same thing with the next one. This is a great shirt. I love wearing it. It becomes much more enjoyable. focusing on doing things my own way in the scheme of wellness or taking care of yourself or whatever, that yes, maybe the norm would be that I should have this table clean all the time. But in fact, when I really think about it, I really, really don't mind that this table has my stuff on it. I actually kind of like it. I kind of like to look at all my little things while I'm working. It doesn't bother me. But there have been a time in my life where it's like a constant nagging of like, why can't you just keep this table clean? And maybe the realization is I don't actually care to, or I don't really want to at this point in time. And if I ever want to clean it up, I can just clean it up. And kind of getting rid of those like nasty, invasive thoughts that say you have to do things some certain way in order to be a certain way. And that's just not true. And some mornings being like, you know what? All I want right now is to just put my leftover coffee that's still in the coffee pot from yesterday over ice and immediately sit outside and maybe just stare at this tree for a second and not do anything. And then it's almost like this magical thing happens that then maybe you get the urge to stretch. And then you just start stretching, and it's not this whole premeditated thing of like, I need to stretch for 10 minutes every single day. And instead, just like allowing that flow to emerge with just like being like, okay, what would actually feel nice right now? And maybe you'll just get up and stretch, and it won't be this whole thing that you have to like plan and make happen. That in fact, we might have a pretty solid compass at times when we can listen. Hopping back in here with just some more of like the backstory mentality, I guess, that I feel like I was reckoning with for a moment. And I think I finally put my finger on some of the things that were constantly feeling like such a hurdle or like block for me to get over, to being more willing to implement things that I genuinely like wanted to implement into my life. The first one, I'm not sure how much everyone will resonate with. I had to come to this like reckoning as of recently. It kind of seemed like it stemmed from like a demand avoidance almost when there's so much information or like peak wellness, like peak health, like you should be living this way to like live your best life, and it's always like this like very kind of like one way of looking at it. For some reason, my brain, if I feel like I have to do these things in order to like be someone else or something, like my brain immediately is like, no, like we're not doing it. We're gonna do things our way. But then a lot of the time in the past, that our way has been like kind of self-sabotagey in a way. Maybe at some points came down to like beauty standards or health standards that just like felt very like just like too concrete. And for some reason I felt like by not taking care of myself, I was like sticking it to the man or something. And then, you know, I'm turning 30 this year, and I really was just getting more honest with myself, and I'm like, you're only hurting you. Like you're literally only hurting you if you are not taking care of yourself. I don't know how many other people would struggle with that, but I imagine, imagine I'm not alone. So that realization, good. I don't want to hurt myself, and I don't want to like center my health around anyone else either. So coming to a conclusion with that. Also, I've also found, and I feel like maybe this is helpful for people with ADHD or just like higher resistance to these things, or like more fluid brains who are not as prone to like structure, but like I've also found that I really need a good reason to do things, and it has to be like my own reason, and I have to like really understand why I want to do something before I can get myself to do it. And it kind of ties into the beginning point of like, if it was for someone else's reason or some like external thing, like that never felt like a good enough reason. So as of recent, I feel like I've really been sitting down with, why do you want to take better care of yourself? And like, what are the benefits that you will benefit from taking care of yourself? And it feels like kind of stupid, kind of simple, but it felt like a really nice turning point. And I do think our brains just like, because I think I didn't want to be like constantly tethered to like needing this as like a source of it's like another form of needing it as a source of like validation, where it's like if you stick to your routines then you're good, and if you don't do it then you're bad. And like I really am trying to move away from that type of thinking in like all aspects of my life, because I don't think it's healthy for myself and probably not for anyone else either. So yeah, like getting really clear on why I want to implement something before I do that. I guess these all kind of do tie together. Also like bringing in that energy of kind of doing it, like not doing it to fix myself, because when you're in that like fixing mentality, it just keeps you in this like loop of constant fixing, because you then are like, I just need to keep fixing. And that can happen with mental health. It happens with a lot of things. It's like a very easy trap to get into. Trying to find the like place in me where I'm like, I just want to do it because I would like to feel better, to have a better life, and like have more energy, be more stable in general, and doing it from like a place of care for yourself. I know we've all heard these things, but I think like when I really start to internalize them, I'm like, yeah, that is the truth. Wait, popping back in here. When you start from the place of like, I'm just doing this to feel good, like if your goal is to feel good and you start with, I'm just doing this to feel good, then you've already reached your goal like from day one. There's like nowhere else to go but just to continue feeling good or better, instead of being in like the endless wheel of like, I'll feel good when I hit the goal, you know, which I'm not the first person to say this, but it really is true, where like if you approach it from that energy, it is like you do hit your goal on day one if the focus is to just like feel better in your self. If you're just like finding more ways to like make it a pleasurable experience to do these things, I think that's helpful, because then yeah, your like brain will be like, this is pleasurable for me for the most part. Obviously like challenging, but I think challenge can also be like a very pleasurable part of life, of like overcoming challenge. But I do just think that that's like such an important note, which I do feel like is like a gentler approach of focused on feeling good. And when something starts to feel good, you start to want to do it more. It's kind of like meditation, where like once you get over the hump, you're like, I'm actually kind of craving this thing because it makes me feel good. And then you want to do it from feeling good instead of feeling like it's a constant chore. And that's not to say that it'll like always feel like effortless and super easy, but also I notice when I'm doing it from a place of feel good, like feeling good, I notice how that shifts day to day, which I think is very good for my brain, because I don't really love like a super structured routine, and I don't know that I'll ever be someone that like does things on the dot every single day for the rest of my life. At least for now is how I feel about that. But then as it shifts from day to day, it's like, okay, if what feels like it's gonna set me up for my day is like having coffee right away and sitting outside in the sun, like that's cool for today. If today you're immediately like, I really want a long walk, I'll be like, today's activity for the morning is like a long walk. And that doesn't happen every single day, and that's okay. And like getting okay with like fluidity in my routine, I think is good. And then lastly, like, which I do think is the core of so many things in life, is having an identity shift around it, which it's interesting how you can have so many paths to like the same outcome. Like you can get there in a million different ways, but I guess I've always found that if I can get like an identity shift in place first and start wrapping my head around that, it makes the actions so much easier. Like if my identity is constantly saying like, I'm someone who just can't really do that, or I'm someone who is like, I just am not good at taking care of myself, I'm not good at my routines, I'm just all over the place. If I just like keep feeding that story to myself, it makes it nearly impossible to keep up with the routines, because you're constantly like fighting against this thing, and then it's like every time you go against it, it's like you're in conflict with something. And so I do feel like doing those mental shifts first are so, just make everything else easier. I do think though, like a separate thing that leads to the same destination is like how they say like a routine takes like what, like 30 or 60, 90 days to make it a habit where you like keep coming back to it. And I notice how almost that, like if you're going from point A to point B, keeping the same identity, it's almost like you're shifting that little by little along the way. But I notice for me at least, it feels like then I'm still dragging it along with me, and it like feels harder. And that just like works better for my brain of like kind of wrapping my head around it first. So this like mental load is like more aligned with the actions right off the get. If you do drag it along, you can still get to point B, and it'll probably like drop off by the time you're at point B, because now you've like established those habits. But I do feel like doing that first for some reason is much easier, in my opinion. So like catching those thoughts and being like, wait a second, is this the story I'm telling myself of who I am still, or like are we telling a new story? Yeah, and really it's all just like has been not so much about what, but how. You know, it's more of the how than what, which I'm actually coming around to in most areas of my life right now, that it really is the how. I think I'll end this one here. I hope you all enjoyed this one. Open will be linked in the description too. You can get 30 days free, which is sick. I will see you all so soon in the next video.